Welcome, everyone. This is Jennifer Pluta from Syracuse University Veterans Career Services, and welcome to our video series, Gathering Your Tools. Today's Gathering Your Tools is on video interviewing, which is a very hot topic today given our current environment. And today we have Rabia Baig from JPMorgan Chase, who is going to share her expertise on video interviewing. Welcome, Rabia.
Thank you, Jennifer, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Well, again, this is a series that we've been doing on different career topics. And, why don't you take this time to tell us about yourself and that of JP Morgan Chase?
Of course. So I have been with JPMorgan Chase for a little over 2 years in campus recruiting. I primarily work with students from underrepresented segments before they apply to the firm with a focus on student veterans. And JPMorgan is one of the world's largest banks. We service over millions and millions of clients. We are functioning teams of 250,000 employees spanning 53 countries. So we work with clients and customers from all the way to the Chase branches, all the way over to the investment bank, working with clients with $500 million plus in revenue. So we are all over the map working within our various lines of businesses.
Can you share with us JP Morgan Chase's hiring practices when it comes to veterans, and what are the three most important things the company considers in a candidate?
Yeah, so JP Morgan has been a vital ally for veteran hiring for a number of years. So since 2011, we've hired over 16,000 veterans across our various lines of business throughout the world. So in various positions, all the way from interns, all the way up to managing director roles. So veterans are a large part of our community. We have a dedicated team dedicated to recruiting and hiring veterans, along with a military veterans affairs team that not only manages the leadership development and training for veterans when they come on site, but it's also how we partner with the outside community. So we do a lot of work within the community of partnering with veteran organizations to promote not only the JP Morgan brand, but also financial literacy, financial wealth, how to get by house, and all the different ways that a bank could be part of your life. So we have a full circle when we think about how we service veterans. Really, the top three important things when we consider looking at a veteran candidate. One is a transferable skill set and experience. So thinking about the work you did prior, how can that move more into a space that we offer here at the firm? Second is a growth mindset. It is a challenge to go from non-corporate to corporate. So being able to be open to the idea of you will be challenged is really important to us. And finally, a passion for financial services. So why do you have interest in working in this sector, in this industry, in this particular line of business? We're always really curious to hear what attracts people to the bank.
So, what types of virtual interviews, again, whether it's that recorded or that video, can a student veteran expect to encounter? Especially given our current environment, and what tips would you have for an applicant during the interview and after as well?
Sure. So we do a couple of things. Prior to being a virtual environment, we used to still use video interviewing as a pre-screening tool. So HireVue was our platform of choice. And we should send students, once they've applied and met the basic requirements, they would get a HireVue answering some really basic questions like their interest about the role. Once that was done, then typically that was reviewed, we would invite you to an in-person interview. Now with the virtual landscape, we still will be using HireVue for some of the pre-recorded questions, first round if you want to consider it. But for most student veterans coming in, they're going to be applying either to an internship or a full-time role. We will be doing all of that via virtually through Zoom right now. So that means having interviews with hiring managers and people that would be on your teams in the future. We'll all be doing them in a super day style interview, meaning 3 to 5 interviews back to back. Really great tips when I think about just the basics of video interviewing. One is being in a comfortable, distraction-free environment, dressing for interview as you would in person. So neck up, but I always tell people just in case, bottom down as well, in case you get up and we see something. So always be fully dressed, head to toe in an outfit, and then really feel comfortable practicing. So as I'm right now, we're talking, we're moving my hands, we're nodding, we're responding. Similarly, same thing, even if it's pre-recorded, think of it as the other person is viewing your other side of the interview, which is what, in our case, that's what we do. All humans look at your pre-recorded interviews. So make sure you are being personable and bringing that those expressions with you to the interview. The advanced preparation, though, now we're thinking about is you have a allotted amount of time. In a pre-recorded interview, you have 90 seconds to 120 seconds to start thinking about an in-person interview. If you were to answer the question, tell me about yourself, you could maybe go on a 2-minute tangent, a 3-minute tangent, but when it's being pre-recorded, practice cutting your answers down. And the number one tip I tell students is set up your phone, your iPad, whatever tablet device you have, just record yourself. And then you will see, how do your mannerisms work? How does the light look? How am I speaking too fast? Am I speaking too slow? Am I looking at my notes too much? Am I looking up? But just really take time to research and practice your answers and be able to, like I said, in a 2-minute window, if you can do it, that's really the key for a pre-recorded interview.
I'm sure you've seen the good, bad, and ugly on these videos. Can you just give me one anecdote of the ugly?
That's why I said to wear the whole outfit. So, so typically when you end a recording in a higher view, it's like a buffer of a second or two. Someone got up and not in full pants. Say they're in shorts, let's say that. Always be mindful. 2 seconds before, 2 seconds after. You'll get the hang of answering the questions when you see a little timer go off. You'll typically have one trial where you can record yourself, and if you like it or not, and then you could re-record it. So be really mindful of when you are practicing your pre-recorded sessions that one try is practice and one try to go. So make it, use each take as a final take.
One thing veterans could probably, either do better, or a piece of advice specifically veteran specific?
Yeah, I think when we think about the why we interview, we're looking at various competencies. And so for me, typically when I have this question come from students, I always tell them, if it's not only our firm, wherever else you may be going, there's going to be general questions that are asked of you. Tell me about a time when you ... Those are aligned to competencies. So I tell students, create a cheat sheet, like 4 squares. The most common competencies that are going to be asked are around leadership development, teamwork, analytical problem-solving skills, and then like communication presentation. Have a grid set up where you have the competency and the answers, and you can easily reference up and down in an interview and say, yeah, a time when I did this, when I was working in a leadership role, or a time when I helped solve this problem. And so with veterans, you have tons of experiences from your time in service. Find a way to connect that to those competencies. So then the interviewer, who will likely not be familiar with your background, say, okay, I get it. You had to solve a problem with very limited information. How did you do that? That is a question we ask in interviews. And so you'll be able to kind of combine an answer from your previous experiences plus what you're learning in school and put that together. So I always tell students, if you're going to practice a response, think about the next step is, what competencies do you want the interviewer to gain from your response? And that makes a stronger interview, rather than just pulling from the same experience multiple times. Find different facets of that experience that align to different competencies, and then we put that together for a strong candidate.
There are different types of interviews, such as behavioral interviews and technical. What advice do you have to prepare for those interviews, especially in a virtual environment?
So with behavioral questions, really, like I said, look at your experiences in and out of the military, in your schooling, in student organizations, any prior work you've had. That's all great fodder. Think about research you've worked on, projects you've done. That's great for behavioral questions. When it comes to technical, that's a lot of that is research. So follow us on LinkedIn, subscribe to business newspapers, and understand what is the stock price, what's a recent acquisition that's come through. And in a technical interview, what we're really focusing on is the process. We'll give you a prompt and it'll say, evaluate, if this is a possible acquisition, or company A and company B are about to do something. Talk about your process out loud. That's what we're looking for. You're not going to get to the right answer because we're only giving you so much information.
Right.
What the recruiters and the interviewers want to hear is your process start to finish, and say, I'm evaluating this, I'm thinking about this, and I want to maybe suggest that maybe company A do this. That rationale and explaining that effectively, that's a really strong technical interview.
And finally, are there any anecdotes or examples of successful hiring, and why was it successful?
Yeah, so I go to a lot of conferences and I meet with students in various capacities. I met a veteran student at a technology conference, actually, who was interested in non-technology roles. So she took leap of faith, connected with me, and said, I want to work in the finance side of the house. How can I do that? And so over the course of the year, I saw her resume at the conference, and to the point of now a year later, her resume had transformed because she attended as many sessions as she could that were offered virtually for her to attend, to get to know about the bank, about the process, about our various programs. She also then took that information and connected with veterans on LinkedIn. So if you haven't started that process, connect with them. So they gave her feedback on her resume. The sessions she went to fed her feedback on her resume. And in a year's difference, her resume was standout. She was able to completely transfer her skill set over, her passion over, and ended up making her internship offer in a space that she had no prior experience in. She was like straight out of the military. And so for me, it's like seize an opportunity. If you go to a conference we're at, ask about other opportunities, and then keep getting feedback and evolving your pitch, evolve your answers. And for me, it was a year-long transition watching her, and she was able to land. So she'll start with us this summer.
Those are great avenues to get to know the organizations.
Like I said, always stay connected, practice your answers, and really feel comfortable. We're here to help you out through the process. Your recruiters are your advocates in the firm. So make sure if you have any questions, ask ahead, and we look excited. We're always excited to meet you. So get an opportunity, talk to someone, and you'll find out for yourself if it's a good fit.
I'm sure student veterans will find all your suggestions and advice helpful for their career journey. And for those of you who are watching, again, please go on to our video series, Gathering Your Tools, to check out other videos. And don't hesitate to reach out to me or employers like JPMorgan Chase. Again, thank you very much and have a good day.